What up, guys? Happy Friday Junior. At least that's what it is today, or Thursday, as I like to call it. Um, we got something unique here today that I thought, okay, we'll start venturing into some more unique cases now that we've hit a lot of the basics and show you some of the design things that we do internally and what those mean. So, for example, on this one, we have the two posterior saddles, and you'll see an H and a T. And to us, that indicates heavy and thin. So in CAD, we have to translate that over from the analog world. And we know from previous videos that we talked about that heavy equals 0.8 and thin equals 0.4. Um, so in the software, there's a maximum resin gap, which is 0.9. So there's no way to achieve the total that we're looking for that we'll be able to do. So there's only one workaround in that case, and that is to manually add blockout. So what I need to do is add 0.4, which will be my thin, and then when I actually add the mesh, I'll set that at 0.8, so that'll get us our heavy and thin. So let's just start out with that, and we're going to be at that 0.4 on our maximum height setting. So you'll see that cap out here in height. And obviously when you're doing this, you're going to overlap your mesh, so it's fine to extend past the drawing. And then this one also has eye bars. So we also know from previous videos that the eye bars, if you're using the Bertram Dental Lab DME parts library, then our eye bar does not have the auto relief. So we need to make sure that we have a minimum of 0.5. So if I know that I'm at 0.4 right now, so I am right there. I'm going to go up one step here. There we go. So I know I have at least a minimum of that. And then I can remove to control the contact of the eye bar to the tooth exactly where I want it. So I'm going to look at my undercut view here by selecting the, I'll say, color wheel. I can see my undercut view. That looks pretty good. I might want to take a little, I'll say a little softening right there as it transitions based on the undercut. Okay. And then I'm just going to smooth this. The difficult thing when you're doing this manual blockout is trying to retain and keep that internal finishing line. So I'm gonna try to keep that right there. When I do my resin gap, I'm gonna try to line that up as best I can. So normal blockout. This is a little bit unique plate here where there isn't actually like the physical bar part that we're going to use. We're actually just going to use a major connector, but I'll get into that in a little bit. And we'll pick back up once I get this laid down here, but you'll get the point. All right, so we have all the blockout how we'd want it, and we're going to move on next to our resin gaps. So we need to make this 0.8, and just our regular mesh that we always use, this first part. I'm going to fade this wax out a little bit and get these laid down, and then we'll pick back up in a minute. All right, so we got the saddles laid down. Now we're going to start with our major connector, our usual 0.5, 0.4 on the wax thickness. I have just the major connector, the first part BDL here selected, and I'm going to get this laid down. Again, this is a unique case without being a normal, I'll say, lingual plate, where normally we would have that bar piece on the bottom edge. We're not going to have that. So we are going to have some concern with strength of this without having that bar piece integrated, which is why we have these red marks. Our designers are trying to say, add some wax here, add some thickness, because we want to make sure that we have enough thickness here and strength. So that's what that's indicating. So I'm going to get this laid down and then we'll pick back up. Alright, so we got that major connector laid down. Looks really good, pretty smooth. Notice how I really keep this scalloped, like we want to keep that. Let's move on to clasps. First I'm going to start out with my fill like we normally do on our bottom edge of our saddle here, or meshwork. Place that. And get that all lined up. Okay, so I'm just kind of wrapping up this stage of the RPD. You can see where I have my fills placed on this meshwork. Even this little piece right here, like I'm trying to make sure I have enough strength right where this finishing line is going to be. And same thing here. I'm going to get this eye-bar laid down as we previously talked about. Just remember there is a tip and there is a tail on these eye-bars. So that is the one we want there. And I'm just following my basic pencil drawing here. I know the blockout's where we need it. Bringing that down flush with our mesh and making sure right here where this comes in, I have enough vertical height for that connection. Coming from the tip of the glass with my connector, my 1mm connector, to my major connector. There we go. That looks pretty good. Let's preview that. Okay, we're going to do our first sculpt. Alright, so we're at 10 microns of intensity. We're going to get this built up a little bit here. We know we're going to have that finishing line coming right up this cuspid on the distal. Same thing over here. One thing when I place connectors, I try to think about, and this is in an okay spot, I try to think about that finishing line so that it's not in the way. It just saves you time to not deal with it if it's in the wrong placement. Keep this back a little bit more here. Now, some people like to get very, I'll say, scrolly with their finishing lines. Historically, we've always had them pretty straight. We will, I'll say downturn, like an upper at the end of a saddle. We will downturn those sometimes just based on the shape. This one I'm going to give a little bit of a curve to just at the bottom. I'm kind of following like this line here, and then I'm following here, but you could do it straight as well. It'd be fine. But we just consistently want to do them straight when we're working on cases. It's just honestly easier for finishing. Keeps them cleaner. It's easier for supporting, for printing. So there's a lot of advantages for actual production. All right. So we're looking at, we talked a little bit earlier about that thickness here. We can see where our designers put red. We're going to add a little thickness there in the middle. Just to get enough strength, I'm going to go a little bit higher in this intensity. I'm going to go up to 15 microns, what I'm adding here. Just slowly kind of get that added right across the center. Do my best not to have like a real high spot, but add a little more strength. I'm going to bring these up to green in the center of the plate, so I know I'm hitting a millimeter at that green. There we go. And then let's just come back with a smooth here. blend that out a little more. Get a little bit more here. There we go. And then like we always do on these finishing lines, I'm going to add in my low spot, blend that a little more into that plate. This particular one, I'm not going to do a stipple pattern. Just experience tells me that vertically we don't have a lot of width, and by the time this thing gets polished out, there's really not going to be much stipple remaining anyways, so that's why I'm going to leave it how it is, smooth. And then I'm just going to, like we normally do, kind of hit each connection point here and make sure that that is strong enough, but also just transitioned and smooth well. Bring it up a little more here. I want this definitely solid where this arm is coming in. Bring this a little up, just get that actually flush. I'm going to define, removing here, I'm going to define this distal guide a little bit better, kind of trying to get that more of that 90-degree angle where it meets the mesh and the bottom of the plate. All right, arms look good. The only thing we should have to do still is our default 3mm tissue stop. We know this is going to be no stipple. Our line spacer is our usual 0.050. All right, let's preview that. There we go. I hit S as in Sam on my shortcut. And that looks good. All right, so till the next one, guys, we will pick back up.